Hello, and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks, One Show, where we recap and review one currently airing show, an episode a week as it airs. My name is Trisha Ennis. She is Kate Calabro. We are your two chicks. And this week's one show, as it has been for many weeks now, is Outlander, Season 2 episodes. We're doing a twofer this week, 9 and 10. Je suis prêt, I think is how you say it in French, but I don't know. We've learned this season that I can't speak French.
We're not
And
French.
Prestonpans.
Yes.
Which looks like it should be pronounced differently, but is actually pronounced Prestonpans. So we will start with episode 9, Je suis prêt.
And that episode is pretty much all of like, let's get ready for war. Like I said in our last episode, it's very Mulan, let's get down to business.
Mhm.
I'm going to make a man out of you kind of thing. Like literally, they're trying to make men out of like farmers, like warrior, like the guys that like
The hunt.
never held, yeah.
Huh.
Guys that have never held a weapon before.
Literally guys fighting with pitchforks.
Yeah, pitchforks. So they're trying to train them to be prepared before they ride off to see their beautiful prince.
So basically it's a Disney
Claire-
movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then there's their dark side because Claire has like crazy flashbacks. How would you describe a flashback from the future?
They're flashbacks. They're flashbacks because they're flashbacks for her.
I know, but it's still funny to think about it.
Yeah.
Of her time in World War II. And let's just say Claire did a lot more shit than Frank did.
Yes.
Sorry,
We
Frank.
already knew that. Claire was in the middle of it. Like she was in field hospitals and stuff.
I mean, I love Frank, but Frank has a pretty easy life.
I mean,
besides like his wife disappearing for 2 years.
Well,
Figuring
yeah,
out
and
man.
raising someone else's baby. And,
Yeah, those kind of things. Yeah. So, anywho, in episode 10, which was Prestonpan?
Mhm.
Prestonpan?
Prestonpans.
Preston Pants?
Prestonpans.
Oh, that is a weird name.
Right? I kept looking at it originally, like trying to figure out. This has to be
Yeah.
pronounced like slightly differently. Like we gotta drop a syllable here somewhere. No, it's just Prestonpans.
You hooked on phonics it.
I listened to the audiobook.
Oh, that's true. In episode 10, Prestonpans, they finally, Jamie's men, because they're Jamie's, not Doogies. Get it straight, damn it. March off to join the rest of the Highland Outlander Scottish crew when they meet Prince Charles. He's like Regal Beagle.
Weird plaid.
Yeah, I was gonna say Regal Beagle and like his really, really plaid kilt.
It's like a plaid
Really?
suit.
It literally looks like a picnic blanket.
It looks like something that like people might have worn at my Catholic school, honestly.
It looks like someone was like, what do people in Scotland wear? And he was still in France, and a Frenchman told him, and then he went out and bought it. And they go off to battle. They do their first battle, and yes, they win. But we lose a beloved character of mine, as well as they may have won the battle, but have they won the war? They won't. We know already they're not going to win the war. But yeah, and we only have 3 more episodes, right?
3 more episodes, but there's still a lot that needs to happen in those 3 episodes.
Because I mean, I feel like, in my personal opinion, I feel like they could have condensed these 2 episodes into one. Sometimes I feel like Outlander doesn't need to be an hour long, and I know that's so weird saying it because the books are so huge. But then I'm just like, they could have done a half hour of the training and then a half hour of the battle, and then because I feel like we still have a lot to do before we get to Culloden.
We do still have a lot to do before we get to Culloden. And
I feel like Culloden has to be the next episode or I guess maybe the next 2 episodes.
the Culloden has to be probably in 2 episodes from now, so there'll be an episode and then Culloden, is my guess.
Yeah.
Because of where I assume they're ending the season. And that also assumes that's where they're ending the season. They could be ending it elsewhere. We could only have 5 minutes in the future. We could have a whole episode. There's certainly enough material for like 2 or 3 episodes in the future, but But there's actually like a really important in the past plot line that we have to revisit that we haven't.
You mean Colin possibly dying? What?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. In the book, they've
Have
basically...
Wait. Have you finished the book?
I know everything that happens in the book, yes.
Have you finished it?
No, but I know everything that happens. So, and especially up to this point, like, I know all of this stuff. So, in the book, they've basically thrown out the book as specific. They're just using the book as framework at this point because a lot of stuff is different. A lot of stuff is just thrown out. You mentioned beloved character dying. Rupert doesn't die. Angus does. In the book, Rupert dies, but it's in a totally different battle way further beyond Prestonpans. So they're doing a lot of stretching and changing and turning and all this stuff because, like, Dougal isn't there at Prestonpans. You know, the army from Lovett isn't there at Prestonpans. It's just Jamie and his 30 dudes, along with Charles and his army. Like, all that stuff is there. So there's a lot of really major changes that at this point don't matter. That I think they've done a really good job making the show's story its own. And I kind of wish I hadn't read the book because all I'm thinking while watching these episodes is, oh, that's different. Oh, that's different. But I'm like, no, but it's still good. Like, it's still good storytelling.
Yeah.
So, like, Dougal joins the army, as you say, after Colm dies.
Yeah, but he's not dead.
But Colm's not dead. It's Dougal going rogue. So Dougal becomes a different character.
Oh.
In the book, Colm shows up after Prestonpans, meets with Charles to talk about whether or not they're going to remain neutral, etc., and then goes and talks to Claire and has the whole conversation he has with Claire in the previous episode, a conversation which ends with him asking if she knows how Galus killed her husband, and oh, by the way, does she have some cyanide?
Oh. Well, I mean, he could still show up next episode.
Yeah, he could still show up and do that. I just think it would kind of be a waste at this point.
I mean, he could show up because he found out Dougal betrayed him and his pact to Clan Mackenzie and, like, be pissed off and still want to chat with, like, the Prince Charles.
True, but Dougal also only showed up to the army with 5 men.
Yeah.
It's like Dougal and a couple of dudes. But in the book, Dougal is like a big conquering hero when he comes in because he brings a crap ton of Mackenzie men and 10,000 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Which is all money that Gayla stole from her husband.
Mm-hmm.
But that hasn't happened. So, like, it just completely changes the characterization of Dougal. It makes him inferior to Jamie rather than superior to Jamie. Jamie is very much, you know, espousing his, I am the leader here. Yeah. Which is not how it plays out. So a lot of the dynamics between the characters are very different. A lot of the characterization itself is very different. I'm not saying it's better or worse one way or the other. It's just interesting to see how these little changes made huge sweeping changes to the way these characters are presented and perceived.
So Colm dies? Yeah,
in the book.
Okay. I'm assuming he's going to die in the show.
I mean, he was not long for this world when we met him, so... No.
And
yeah, he asked Claire for some cyanide, which she gave him, and then he assumedly offed himself because he leaves, and then Dougal shows up with the army.
Yeah. I still think that, like, Dougal and Jamie, and I think, like, the tensions between the two, even though, like, surprisingly, Dougal's been somewhat respectful to Jamie.
Right?
I'm very surprised by that. They're still going to battle it out for Clan Mackenzie. Like, who's going to be the next?
I got that inkling when, at the end of the second episode, at the end of Prestonpans, when Jamie is like, you know, when Dougal had been off killing a bunch of English soldiers, he wants to kill everyone. He doesn't want, you know, any of them to be treated in the infirmary, etc., etc. Charles gets all pissed off and wants to punish him, and Jamie says, no, you should promote him. Make him the captain of a group of men who go off and, like, sabotage the opposition, and then you never have to see him again. And Dougal is like, you know, I see what you're doing. You're praising me and exiling me at the same time. So I'm like, okay, so now we're seeing them sort of butt heads for power.
And it's also, I think Dougal says something that was like, that's very, like, not directly, but It's very like column of you.
Something
like it's
column of you,
exactly what his brother's always done to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
making him the war chieftain, so it looks like he's got power, but he actually has none.
Yeah. Which is, I think, through this, all of season 1 until and now to this point where we're almost done season 2, you have seen like kind of a little bit of an evolution of Jamie from just the boy that was hiding because people are trying to kill him to becoming the master of his own domain and becoming involved in politics and becoming involved in the Highland life, which you've never he didn't care before really meeting Claire. But I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, we're also seeing that Jamie really has a head for all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you get it a lot in the books, you get it less in the show, that Jamie is very quiet in the first season because he's a criminal, he's in exile, he's wanted, he's in a bad position, he can't really be out there, but he's always characterized as he's very smart. And this season we're getting to see a lot of that. Like he's strategizing and he's doing these cool things and he's being kind of a badass and he's being a leader of men. And I like the way that they're characterizing and growing Jamie's character this season.
Mm-hmm.
He's still mostly flawless, but
he's not as such like an annoying perfection of a human being
but I respect him.
Yeah. So what happens, basically, we should kind of separate the 2 episodes a bit.
Yeah, so we'll start with Je suis prest, Je suis prêt, which for those of you who may or may not remember is the motto of Clan Fraser, which means I am ready. So it's pretty fitting, actually, for this episode.
Is it Gaelic or is it
It's French.
Why?
Clan Fraser has a lot of roots in France.
Oh, okay.
So their motto is French.
So Jamie and Claire meet up with Myrta, who's already training the Fraser men for war. Along their way,
and torturing
Fergus, by getting him water. Basically, he turned Fergus into like his personal assistant.
Basically, he turned Fergus into his squire, which is what he should be doing.
Claire and Jamie make it there, but they have lost several of the Lovett Frasers along the way, who were kind of pissed off that they were just told to go to war.
Right. They were like, no, you're going here. You're probably going to die. Bye.
So young Simon is off trying to rally them back up. And
with promises of land.
Yeah, but they never arrive. I'm pretty sure in the preview for this coming up episode, young Simon comes back, but in these 2 episodes, he never shows up for any of the training or war, so I don't really know what's happening there. And from there on, it goes into like full-on training boot camp mode. Then in comes Doogie with himself, and we are reunited with Rupert and Angus, and I think maybe like one other dude.
Yep, and we find out that a horrible fate has befallen young Willie.
Oh, yeah. So finally, and I was worried.
Yeah.
Claire asks where Willie is. And at first they're like, oh no, like something, like they made it seem like something awful happened to Willie. And then they say that he got married because he was
to an Irish lass.
To an Irish woman, and they were sailing to the Americas. Mm-hmm. And it makes me happy. It also makes me sad that we don't see Willie, but at least no one killed him. Like Jamie didn't kill him after he lost Claire.
After he lost Claire. Well, because it was mostly Claire's fault.
Yeah. But Willie shouldn't have gone so far to like take a dump. So I think he was taking a poop.
He was.
Poor Willie.
Poor
but
Willie.
He really was a catch. So he needed that. So go off, Willie. But then because Dougal kind of enters Fraser territory, Jamie is in charge, so there is a little bit of a power struggle that Dougal kind of bows down to.
Yeah, I mean well, Jamie has an argument, Yeah. It's his men.
It's his men, because Jamie wants to properly train, as well as Myrta wants to properly train the guys, whereas Dougal is more like a guerrilla style kind of battle, like
it's
taking
off
Celtic
your style of battle.
yeah, taking off your shirts, painting mud on you, and just running into a field of people and just killing them. That is exactly what Dougal wants to do.
And that was the Scottish and also the Gaelic, the Celtic style of fighting forever, and it worked for them very well because it scared the crap out
And I mean,
of the enemy.
if you recall back in season 1 when we did actually encounter some of the English military men when we were dealing with where Blackjack was the first time he had that encounter with Claire, with Lieutenant Good Looking Face, who does
Lieutenant Good Looking Face.
That they're kind of just I mean, Outlander hasn't really painted the English in like a very good light. They're kind of a bunch of wig wearing pansies.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they did do Dougal style, they probably would have all shit their pants. Like, I don't think there would have been much of a fight. So like, I kind of agree with Dougal on a certain aspect of it, but yet these guys have no freaking clue what they're doing, so they do need some kind of training.
Yeah, I mean, they need training regardless. Like, obviously, they're never going to become the Roman legion. But one of the things that you sort of figure out from like because Jamie has a point. Like, you need to be well trained. You need to know how to use your weapons. You need to know what to do in combat. You need to trust the people around you and be able to read what they're going to do. So, like, this kind of formation training and stuff is actually good for team building, first of all. And Dougal's surprise attack, yelling and running and hitting people and stuff, only works if you can strike quickly with the element of surprise and get everything over very, very fast. And you also have to have enough men to overpower the enemy. Like, it doesn't work if you are highly outnumbered. The nice thing about Prestonpans is that the armies were relatively equally matched.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they had the element of surprise and fog. So,
but also, before we even get to that,
there's still the differing styles, and it was interesting to watch these people sort of be really horrible at marching in formation. It brought back marching band memories for me.
Sure, I've never marched anywhere.
You've never when you have to follow whistle commands, and
I don't really like to follow other people.
Well, that's why I was the captain.
Yeah,
I was in color guard.
I mean, there's something for everyone. That just wasn't my something.
Roll stepping is great for your butt. Anyway, it is. Having to march in formation, you have to learn how to walk so that you always take the same length of step as the person next to you, and it's great for your butt.
I would be like stuck next to someone who was like 6'3".
And you would be taking the same steps because you'd all be walking the same way.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Anyway, so
during the training process is having like hardcore
PTSD flashbacks. Yeah.
So you get to see a little bit more of what exactly Claire did during the war. We knew she was a combat nurse. We knew she was not on the front lines, but she was there for a lot of the actual battles, whereas Frank was sitting in an office in London. And we see a specific flashback of Claire dealing with these two American airborne soldiers
who've been separated from their unit.
Were separated from, and I believe, if I remember correctly, they were part of the force that dropped the bombs on D-Day.
Yeah, it was the force that struck on D-Day.
Yeah. So they're separated. They're staying with the British camp. One is from Yonkers. I think one was it Nebraska?
The other one was from Texarkana.
Okay. Which is where?
Texas.
What state? Texas. Okay. And she's nice. They don't understand the food because they're like eating like blood pudding or something.
Blood pudding, which is basically sausage.
Yeah. But Claire takes a liking to them, and she actually is able to wrestle together a guy that will drive them to possibly where the rest of their unit is. So they're driving in the middle of the night in a war zone, and all of a sudden they do become under attack. and Claire is thrown into a trench with the guy from Yonkers. And during the gunfire, the Texas guy is injured, and you can hear him screaming. And then the Yonkers guy goes out there, and he gets injured, and then you can hear him screaming. And Claire is kind of found the next day in this trench, and that's just like one of the flashbacks that we see within the episode. There's another one where a guy wasn't listening to her, and then she has a flashback when she's yelling at Angus, and she takes it out on Angus.
Well, yeah, because she's yelling about the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh crap! What was it called? Something with the foot.
It's something with the foot because Angus doesn't clean his feet.
And you can lose your foot in battle if you don't clean your feet.
Yeah, because there's infections that can get involved. Is also, I think she was talking about the infection.
Trench foot. Got it. Trench foot.
Trench foot. Which he doesn't know what that means, because you could get trench foot like he fucking knows what that means. So yeah, so she's having continuous flashbacks. Jamie like realizes something's up. He asks her about it. He did want her to go back to Lollybrook, but she refuses because it's Claire, and she won't. She'll be needed, which she will be. She's a fucking nurse. Like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
So she decides to say. Other weird things that happened during this episode. Dougal talks to Claire about their agreement in the cave back in season 1, where if Jamie dies, Claire agrees to marry him.
Yeah, Dougal just wants Claire. It's actually way more sinister the way they presented it in the book. Like, Dougal wants Claire.
Yeah, like I completely forgot all about that.
I hadn't. It creeped me out when I read it.
Yeah, it wasn't. I guess it's probably more creepy in the book. It's like still kind of creepy, but not like real creepy.
Yeah, it seemed more sensible in the show.
Yeah. Then at the very end of the episode, a English kid was captured sneaking into the camp, and they are able to use Claire as an English woman. She comes up with like this brilliant idea to pretend like she's being held captive by Jamie. And Jamie goes to like ravish her, and the kid like starts spilling all the secrets. So then they get information about where an English camp is being held, and then like in the middle of the night they go in there and they take all the wheels off their wagons.
Which I love.
I thought that was cute.
I love that kind of subversive war tactic, because it's totally something that I would want to do. Like, we can't sneak in and kill everyone because we'll wake everybody up and we'll all die. But let's go in, steal their wheels off their cannons and burn them, because screw them.
And make sure to take all of the screws so they can't just like.
Right. Well, they bring them back. They bring back the pins as spoils of war. And Claire's like, can't they just make new ones? And he's like, yeah, not without wheels.
So
it's a nice little murky Jamie moment.
One of the things I was thinking about during that moment where he comes back and he's like all amped up from like war, and he's like about to have sex with Claire, but then he doesn't have sex with Claire. It's like I thought I said it because I watched this with my dad. I know it's weird, and I go, he must really fucking smell. Like, could you just imagine how stinky he is climbing on top of you? Like, that's gross.
I think but at the same time, you have to consider the hygiene of being in that area. So she probably doesn't smell great herself.
Yeah, that's exactly what my dad said. He was like, well, I don't think any of them smell that good. Like,
it's not like they have showers.
He really must reek, though. Like, he's also man.
Hopped up on adrenaline and so pretty.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I could get over that.
Like bunnies.
Oh, God. It really must have sucked. The stenches of people. Ugh.
I just think of what it must have smelled like in the infirmary with all the bleeding and
God,
cauterizing. And
I would just be like, kill me now. I just want to die, so I don't have to smell this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much episode 9.
That was pretty much it. I mean, it's a lot of training, a lot of, it's getting ready. It's Claire dealing with the fact that she's already seen a war and doesn't want to see another one, but she knows she has to.
Yeah, I
liked.
I'm pretty sure when V-Day happened in World War II, Claire Randall thought she was never going to have to see a war again.
Yeah. I mean, it happens every time a war ends. You assume you're never going to see another war.
Yeah. And then here she is, seeing a war that's like centuries before what she had to deal with. So,
and also, could you imagine the realization, having those flashbacks to 1944 2 or whenever it was after 41. When was D-Day? Having those flashbacks and realizing you're about to go into a war and that thing that has traumatized you hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's
and it's
still
also
out there.
Yeah, so, I mean, she's not going to realize that she's doing it again, but still. But this has to be so much more difficult because at least during World War II, she knew that her husband wasn't on the front lines.
Right.
Frank was back in London. She was there, but she didn't really know. She didn't have to worry about anyone else. This is a war that literally, every time someone walks on the battlefield, she knows someone that could possibly die that she loves.
And she talks
and
about
it's not
that.
Just Jamie,
And Jamie says, I'll send you back to Lallybrook with Fergus and you'll be fine. And she's like, this isn't about me. This isn't me not wanting to go to war. It's me not wanting to let people I love go into battle and possibly die. And she's like, I can't. She uses the title of the second book, Dragonfly and Amber. She's like, I don't want to be that girl on the side of the road again. I don't want to be a dragonfly in amber, frozen, unable to do anything. She's like, I want to help. And I totally understand that perspective of like, it's not me that I'm worried about. It's literally everybody else.
Yeah. Because for the most part, Claire is going to be safe. Her personally will be safe. It's her during that period where she doesn't know where everyone is.
Right. It's her in the infirmary taking care of men when Jamie's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's her treating Rupert and trying, to deal with all the people. And
which is exactly what happens in episode 10.
Episode 10, Prestonpans.
When it sounds like Prestonpans.
I know, it's Prestonpans. It's the first significant conflict of the Jacobite rebellion, and it was a decisive victory for the Jacobites.
Yeah. So the Fraser men, along with like the Five Mackenzie, join up with Prince Charles and his army, as well as
his plaid suit.
And his plaid suit. And he's so ridiculous. He's literally
like an idiot the entire time. His gold tassels and crap.
He's like a walking caricature. And why does he always say, "Mark me"?
I know. I was going to say that. I was going to be like, "Mark me."
Who the hell is someone walking behind you writing your memoirs? Like, who the hell?
Right, like I want there to be a guy like, oh god, I can't remember his name, like the Squire in Monty Python's Holy Grail who's knocking the coconuts together. I want there to be a guy following Charles around just taking notes.
That's what every time he says it, I'm like, okay, is someone gonna come out and be like, oh my god,
with his quill.
With his quill. And then wouldn't it be funny if he kept hitting the prince in the face? He was writing real fast.
That would be the comedy version of Outland.
So Jamie is meeting with the other clan leaders that have brought men. There's also, it seems like there's two generals,
including the nihilist general.
Yeah, because there's like the Irish general, and then there's the Scottish general, right?
I don't remember, honestly.
They just keep getting in fights.
I just know the one general who's an idiot, and he's like, we should just go back to Edinburgh.
Yeah, I think that's the Scottish one.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was like two of them, and they kind of... But
Charles only really listens to Jamie.
Yeah. Charles was like standing by a mantle for like a period of time. Like I don't really know.
Your knowledge of Charles is like these strange tableaus.
Because I'm just like weird things that he does and like weird words that he says, and like that's all I remember of him.
Yeah, basically, and that's really all he is.
I honestly don't even remember if he was part of the war plan or like.
He was.
So I don't know. I don't really know a lot about military shit, so I was confused. Basically, it was like, here's the Scottish army, here's the English army, and then there's just like a bunch of mush land.
There's a bog in between them, and neither side knows if they're able to cross it, and neither side knows how far the opposition's weapons will reach. So Dougal is like, all right, somebody's got to go out there and find out.
Well, I'm pretty sure Jamie volunteers Dougal.
Well, yeah, but Dougal is like, nah, you can't do that, I'll do it.
Yeah, but Jamie did it on purpose. Like, he didn't want to do it. So he secretly convinced Dougal to do it.
Basically, yes. So then Dougal takes his horse out, gets stuck in the mud, gets fired upon. They know how far the muskets will reach. They know how far they can actually go before they hit the bog and can't move anymore. So now they're at a stalemate.
Yeah. And at this point, Dougal, like, all the Scottish guys are, like, watching Dougal. They're cheering him on.
Badass.
It was really cool. And then comes, like, this is another moment where Charles comes out of nowhere with his stupid fucking flags, his stupid outfit. And he's, like, clapping like this. It's so sad now in retrospect. One of my favorite Angus moments where he starts talking to this man who's in a wig with fucking flags and, like, the most ridiculous outfit you've ever seen. And doesn't realize it's the fucking prince.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, that's Dougal. I've known him for years.
Yeah, I've known him for years. Like, it's like that's Dougal Mackenzie and I know him. And then when he does something like this where he, like, just goes like this and doesn't bow, just goes like, hey, what's up? And then I think he goes to Rupert, I just talked to the prince.
Yeah, basically. He's just like a weird fanboy.
So at that moment, Prince Charles loves Dougal.
Oh, like hugs him, loves him.
Says "mark me" a couple times, I'm pretty sure.
And then Dougal has my favorite line of the entire episode, which is the hero of the day just shat his pants.
But she's not even wearing pants. So did he just poop, like, in the ground?
He shat his kilt, because he don't really wear anything under the kilt.
That's what I mean. Like, it just... Anyway. So they're still kind of... No one knows what to do. And then all of a sudden, this kid comes in as Claire's preparing the hospital and asks if he could speak to someone in charge.
The general, essentially. He wants to speak to the leader.
And him and his family own the lands around the area, and he knows of a back trail that will lead them to the camp where they could attack the English without them really knowing they're coming.
Yep.
And no one's sure if this is great. Jamie thinks this is a good idea, so then Charles said yes.
Well, no one knows if the kid's even telling the truth.
That's the other issue.
But they have to place all their faith in this one kid they don't know. And
he has to show them, so he does have to go with them. But I mean, that's not really much.
Because he can just run away.
In the end, Jamie believes the kid, and that's enough for Charles. So they decide to do this. So they all prepare in the night to go off. Claire has recruited a bunch of other women to help in the infirmary who are also scared shitless. These girls are not ready, and the girls and the one older lady are like, not
the one older lady.
Not sure what's going to happen. They're all quite nervous, but they know what's going to go down. Fergus is supposed to stay at the infirmary and, like, but he wants to go fight, so he sneaks out and he goes and fights.
Which, of course, he was going to do.
Yeah. I mean,
he wants to be a man. I mean, dude's like 11 or 12.
Yeah. So in the breaking of dawn in the fog, they all go out. None of them are wearing armor, so they're all exactly doing what Dougal always wanted to do.
Yeah, because that strategy works.
Yeah.
Especially for this situation. Like, they were never going to fight in formation, but I think being able to fight in formation, knowing people, being trained, having that discipline is important, even if it's not the style of fighting you choose to use. And in this situation, I think I would do the same. Like, you sneak up, you get as close as you can, and then you run and you kill as many people as possible, and then you run.
Yeah. It should be mentioned that prior to the battle going down, Charles pulls Jamie aside and informs him that he would like Jamie to tell Claire that she is supposed to help the English soldiers that come to the infirmary as well as the Scottish.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that he said to help them first.
I don't remember him saying that, but I also wasn't admittedly listening closely enough that I'm confident in that. So
yeah. It's also been, almost a week since I've watched it. So
yeah, it's only been a few minutes, but I'm out of sorts.
Which is interesting. and agree what would happen if they won the war, that Charles wants to welcome in the English because they're brothers and they're also his
Right.
father's loyal subjects and
You
like all
want to
that
fight a
kind of
war. You want to fight a war without pissing off the other side too much.
But the problem is, and what I thought was going to happen is that because Charles is so conscious of not pissing off the English, I feel like he could actually piss off the Scottish.
Yes.
By pretty much, these are men that are fighting because they so strongly believe in a Stuart king sitting on the throne. They also believe in the independence of Scotland, not being associated with England. Whereas Charles is making it sound like if his father becomes king and then Charles becomes king, it's not, you're all one. Whereas I think the Scottish people want to just be Scotland. And,
I don't disagree.
I feel like he might alienate them a little bit.
I think
this
the problem
is Dougal's life.
Yeah, I think the problem for a lot of the Scotsmen who are fighting is that they're fighting for Scottish freedom. They're not fighting for a Stuart king. A Stuart king will get them what they want, but it's not that they support James Stewart. It's that they want freedom, and this is the guy who's going to get it. The problem for Charles is that he's fighting a war he's fighting a war for a crown. He's not fighting a war for a people.
Yeah.
So, like, the people he's leading into battle have very different things on the line than he does.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't George Washington fighting for American freedom because it was his own freedom. It's Charles Stuart fighting for his father's throne because I want it and God says I can have it.
Yeah. So I just feel like there might, from a Scottish standpoint, if I started hearing what he's actually saying to Jamie, I'd be like, fuck you, dude. Like, this is not what I signed up for.
Right. Like, but I wouldn't necessarily go to the extremes that Dougal does. Because Dougal just wants revenge against the British. He just hates them, and he wants to kill them all.
Yeah. But that's what a lot of people that joined the rebellion thought. These are people that the English invaded Scotland once they took back the crown. And they've kind of been bullying the natives. This is something that he has craved for so long. And yes, it's vicious and it's not right, but I mean, this is what you're dealing with. And to go kind of against not seeing how Dougal feels and how a lot of Scottish men in the Highlands feel, like it's a little stupid of Charles.
I guess, but at the same time, when they're in the infirmary and Jamie's doing the whole, hold this while I pee in it thing, they're all sort of the British prisoners who are being treated and the Scottish men who are being treated in the infirmary. They're both kind of in this, they have a little bit of camaraderie in that they're fighting for someone else. So, like, it isn't that I hate you, it's that our sides hate each other. Yeah. So if we're going to be in this situation, we might as well have some fun and, not hate each other. So obviously Jamie's not of the same mindset as Dougal. I don't think Jamie wants to elevate the English anywhere above the Scots.
I think a generation difference as well. This was never something Jamie wanted. Jamie never wanted to join the Jacobites. He never was trying to change the future. At this point, that's what's driving him, whereas this is literally what Dougal has been sleeping, breathing, eating, thinking about for a very long time.
Yeah, and devoting literally his life to.
Mm-hmm. Betraying his brother and the lord of his clan to, basically fight for this ridiculous prince.
This possibly lost cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I understand that. I understand Dougal's enthusiasm and his bloodlust to a degree. I still hate Dougal. But I understand, what's going on there and it was a thing that happened. But while he's walking through the dead and dying English men laying in the field.
The battle was successful.
Oh, yeah, but the battle was always successful, and that's something that they don't bring up in the beginning of the episode. In the book, they go into Prestonpans, and Claire says, okay, so we're going to Prestonpans, first of all. That's the first battle. The Jacobites win. Spoiler alert.
Well, she does mentions something to Jamie and Myrta right before they go off, where she goes,
well, yeah, he says, we win the day, right? And she says, yes, we
yeah.
win this day. But no,
So,
like, there's a whole conversation in the book where she talks about Prestonpans, how she remembers Prestonpans because it's the first battle, and how she remembers it being a decisive victory for the Jacobites. But she also remembers the Jacobites lose 30 men, and there's a whole reflection on the fact that all of the men from Clan Fraser equal about 30 men. And you know that it could be those 30 men. Like, it's the idea that they're gonna win, and they're gonna win big, but they're not gonna win without losses.
yeah.
A Prestonpan in the book is also, it's a big deal. It's the first battle. There's a lot of talking about what happens in the battle, but it's not a heavily weighted battle emotionally as it is in the show. In the
Mm-hmm.
show, it's an emotionally weighted, encounter.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happens.
I mean, the battle starts, the women in the fernery can hear the battle going on. Men start trickling in. We get some British prisoners that come in and get help. Claire, of course, helps them. And the first, kind of emotional thing comes in where Angus is carrying Rupert. Rupert was, pretty much almost gutted.
Basically.
On the battlefield. And Claire was helping an English soldier and kind of drops everything to go sew up Rupert. Angus is completely wrecked by the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a cannon shot that goes off moments after Rupert was sliced as Angus was trying to make his way, that threw Angus, and he ended up hitting his head on the ground. But he was still knock Rupert back. Claire thinks he has just a walking concussion and tells him not to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. More men keep coming in. Jamie comes in. Claire, of course, is thrilled that Jamie made it. Myrta comes in. She does find out Fergus won and fought, and Fergus stabbed a guy, so now he has to deal with that. That's what's going to happen, you dumbass. I mean, you went off to war.
You went off to war. You're going to have to kill some people.
Meanwhile, Dougal is still on the battlefield, just going around making sure everyone's dead. Like, literally just stabbing them to make sure they're not going to breathe.
Yeah. Including Lieutenant Good-Looking Face.
He is encountered with Lieutenant Foster, aka Lieutenant Good-Looking Face. The men share a little conversation. Dougal just acknowledged that Good-Looking Face is probably the best, the most, I forget what he said exactly.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, like the nicest Englishman he's ever encountered, pretty much is what Dougal said. But the Good-Looking Face, Dougal, that they're not going to win, they're outnumbered, they should just stop now. Dougal, of course, doesn't want to hear that, and then just kills him.
Yeah, like fillets the dude.
Yeah. So back in the infirmary, Jamie's trying to make sure that the Englishmen are comfortable by doing a pissing contest into a jar.
Literally
then
having a contest.
Yeah. Then in walks Charles, who did walk through the fog with the men, but did not take part in the battle because
even though he wanted to, which is stupid because he should know that the leader of the rebellion can't be on the front lines. The general isn't on the front lines. It's the hard part of being the guy in charge. You have to send people to die.
Yeah. So Charles walks in. He's happy about the outcome. He talks more about being brothers, I think. And then, in comes, Dougal, covered in blood, kissing the older lady, she's not an old lady, that is working, just, so happy because he just...
Appropriate lady.
And just so happy because he just killed a bunch of English guys. And then Prince Charles is just pissed. More the what's this guy talking about? Jamie kind of defends Dougal, but also undermines Dougal's power by suggesting that Dougal now leads a task force that goes out and kind of sabotages camps in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Opposed to actually being on the front lines with the army, with the prince, and with Jamie.
Yeah, because Charles wants to punish him somehow. He's like, this is horrible. you're doing all these terrible things, blah blah blah. I hate you. You suck. What should I do with you? And Jamie is like, you should promote him, make him the captain of the new, Scottish Dragoons.
Yeah.
Give him 15 men and send him off, and you never have to look at him again.
Yeah, because at first Charles was gonna tells him to leave, like never come back. You're not allowed to fight for me, like that kind of stuff, which completely crushes Dougal.
Yeah.
But after that happens, the very column-like thing for Jamie to do to Dougal.
As Dougal points out, that's very column-like.
Yes. Angus begins to shake and cough up blood, and we soon learn that this whole entire time Angus has been suffering internal bleeding from the cannon shot and his fall. And there's absolutely nothing Claire could do. So Claire holds Angus while he dies, as well as Dougal, Myrta, and Jamie are around them. And as Angus takes his last breath, Rupert rises and takes Angus's sword, because before battle, Angus said, "What? You can have my sword if I die." And Rupert
my
was like,
whore.
"Shut up." And my whore. Who Rupert's like, you can't give me your whore. Like, that's not how it works. But
he's like, I can give it to whoever I want.
Yeah, and Rupert didn't want to have any part of it, and then Angus actually ends up dying.
Yeah, that was a big bait and switch, which I think they did. I didn't love, honestly, from a writing perspective. And as a change from the book, I felt like it was a change just because they knew that book readers were watching and they wanted to give them something they wouldn't see coming.
I think it was also because Angus was more developed than Rupert.
So he would be more,
he would be more of a heartbreak.
He'd be more of a heartbreak, but at the same time, it would also be more interesting to see Angus react to Rupert's death. In the book, it's Rupert who dies, and he dies in the way that he's essentially gutted, but it's also very different. Like I said earlier, it's in a later battle. It's in very different circumstances. So it's just it was a weird change. It wasn't a bad one necessarily, but I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite.
I mean, there was definitely foreshadowing for it. Angus was kind of obsessed with this idea of like what would happen if he didn't come back. He makes Claire give him a farewell kiss before he goes out to battle, which was kind of just cheeky.
Which is why you sort of think that Rupert's gonna die, because he's the one who's like, we're fine.
Yeah, Rupert didn't want to talk about it. He kept refusing to acknowledge the situation. So then you're like, oh, well, then Rupert's gonna die, and then
he did.
So
it was just I think it was a bait and switch for bait and switch sake.
So it's the first casualty of the rebellion, and it happens not the first the literal first casualty.
It's the first casualty that we care about.
That affects Jamie and Claire. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
You were devastated. So are the goats. The goats are very sad. Or sheep, whatever they were.
I think it's any animal. I'm not gonna be okay if something happens to Myrta, and I'm just dreading that possibility.
I understand.
I just don't know what I'm gonna do.
So we have 3 episodes left. This episode ends with them saying, "So you were right about Prestonpans," and she's like, "Yeah, but that also means I was right about Culloden." And the whole time I'm thinking, no, that's not how that works. You could be right about one and wrong about the other, but we're just going to assume that you're right about Culloden because we know from the first episode that you're right about Culloden.
Yeah.
So they're still dreading. Basically this whole season is the march toward Culloden.
March towards death.
Yeah. Towards the end of the Scottish Highland tribes or whatever.
Yeah, everything that
clans, tribes, whatever.
Clans, but whatever.
Clans, whatever. Words. What are words? So that's sort of where this leaves off, and we have 3 episodes left.
I know. And I feel like a lot has to happen. But
a lot does. I don't know. And I'm wondering what they're going to cut out.
I don't know. I don't remember the previews.
I didn't see the preview. Because the version of the episode I watched, the first 5 seconds of the preview started, and then it was over. So.
Yeah. So I don't.
So I don't know what happens next week, but there's going to be more fighting.
Yeah. I know it's not Culloden yet. So.
No, it's not Culloden yet. My guess is Culloden will be episode 12. But there are some things that really do need to happen, and then we're not anywhere near. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said Claire needs to get knocked up again.
Yeah, she does. They need to have a lot more sex. They had a lot less sex in the show than they do in the book.
They haven't had sex in a while.
Oh, one of the things we didn't mention was the kid, the English kid who sort of stumbles upon their camp, and Claire helps to trick him into giving up the information about the British Army who they steal the wheels from. That was a big difference from the way they did it in the book, and also a difference I didn't like because in the book it was actually more fun. It was the same concept, but it was more fun. It's Jamie and Claire are having sex in the middle of the freaking field or whatever, and the kid like hears her English accent, assumes she's being taken advantage of, and tries to attack Jamie, and then they realize what's happening, and the two of them immediately just start playing it.
Oh my god.
And it was a lot more fun in the book, but they did essentially he'll come back.
Yeah.
Lord Grey. Something or other. Yeah. So that was a scene that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he now owes Jamie his life.
Yeah. I mean, like, another Game of Thrones reference. I felt like he's gonna be like, a Grey always pays their debts.
Well, he says a Grey never forgets his word or something like that.
I know, and I was just like, oh my god.
A Lannister always pays his debts. Yeah, so that was the thing. So yeah, I mean, it's been a few episodes of not a lot happening, but not bad episodes. I liked these episodes because I thought they were character good, and I liked they were good for the character. They were good character building episodes. We got to see Jamie be a leader and things like that, but the plot didn't necessarily move a huge amount.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess it was like character driven. I just felt like they could have probably been condensed into one episode.
Yeah, my problem with the episodes is, and maybe it's because I watch a lot of network 1 hour or cable 1 hour, so that it's actually 42 to 45 minutes. But the episodes always feel too long.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like I know that, and I said it at the beginning of the show, that the books are so big, but sometimes I feel like they could probably get away with like 30-minute episodes.
They could probably get away with 45-minute episodes.
So.
But yeah, so we shall see what happens. And do we want to make it? I don't think you have any new predictions, do you?
Colum dies, which we already know is going to happen, but I feel like Dougal and Jamie are going to battle for whoever.
Dougal and Jamie could duke it out for the clan. Culloden.
I mean, I feel like, and maybe it happens next episode. Like, BJ has to come back into play at some point. We need to know the Randall family secret. Right.
We're still waiting on this whole idea of, now that he's been stabbed in the penis, how does he have a kid, sort of thing.
Yeah. Where the fuck's Mary at? Like.
Yeah, whatever happened to Mary?
What else? I guess we'll never see Jenny again.
Bye, Jenny.
At least not this. At least not this season. Master Raymond, maybe he comes in and he saves the day because he's a time traveler. That'd be fun.
He's actually the Doctor.
Yeah.
He's gonna combine shows.
From right now, I just there's still some things that like I don't know the way that the show's progressing. I feel like we're not gonna find out anything. Like we're forgetting about Blackjack.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, like I said, I'm interested to see what from the book they take out, because a lot of the things you mention are plot points in the book.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what they're going to have to let go. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where we go.
I mean, they did like this whole with, Alex and Mary and Blackjack when they were in France, and then as soon as they got back to Scotland, it was kind of like, eh. But I mean, I felt like that kid kind of looked like a Randall. I was like, oh my god, is it another Randall?
The gray?
Yeah. So.
Not another Randall, though.
Because he wouldn't admit who he was like, so I was like, oh my god. Is he like part of Blackjack's like brigade or whatever the fuck they call it? I don't know military terms.
Dragoons.
Unit.
Blackjack was the captain of His Majesty's 8th Dragoons.
So maybe like the Greys are part of that? I don't know. Because he wouldn't give up his captain's name.
No, but he did say who his father was. He's a Viscount or a Viscount or whatever.
Yes.
He's nobility, basically.
Fancy. He's like
fancy.
That's higher than a lord.
I don't know. I don't know the ranks.
So
it is higher than a lord because a lord is just a landowner.
Yeah.
But anyway, so 3 more episodes. We will see what happens on Saturday. That's it for this episode. If you have any thoughts, questions, opinions on our opinions on the show itself, let us know. Do not spoil anything from the book if you have read it in the comments, because Kate is staying spoiler-free as much as she can. Let us know what you think in the comments on the video, on the website, allgeektome.net, on Twitter. I'm at Trisha Ennis. She is at Kate Calabro. The hashtag is hashtag 2chicks1show with the numbers, not the words. And we will see you next week. Same time, same place.
Probably different time, though.
It's probably different time. It'll probably be more like 8. But we'll tell you on Twitter. Just follow us on Twitter.
Good night.